In 1973, the state legislature again changed the name of the school to Prairie View A&M University. It was still part of the Texas A&M system, but not sharing equally in state funding. The Black Caucus in the state legislature began to question this. State Representative Semfronia Thompson was part of the group looking into the funding issue. In 1974, Wilhelmina Delco was elected to the state legislature. She soon became chairman of the Committee on Higher Education, which had oversight of public colleges. This would prove to be a great advantage for Prairie View.
It was very difficult to get the Prairie View agenda at the top of the legislative agenda for the Committee on Higher Education. There were people who didn't even realize that it was a problem, did not even know of how Prairie View stood in relation to other institutions. We got it at the top of the agenda, and we had the unqualified, unanimous support of the members of the caucus and a lot of other members of the House. The support just was there.
One source of irritation to the Black Caucus was the Permanent University Fund. This fund, called the PUF, was established in 1840 when Texas was still a republic. The Texas Congress set aside a large amount of land in West Texas to pay for higher education in Texas. Years later, when oil was discovered on the land, the value of the PUF soared, exceeding all expectations. But it was not without controversy. In 1931, the legislature split the fund. 2/3 of the income would go to the University of Texas and 1/3 to Texas A&M, since these were recognized as the two flagship state colleges. Prairie View held the position that they should share in these funds, since they actually began operation before the University of Texas was even founded, and since they were part of Texas A&M. But without a voice in the legislature, Prairie View's request for equal funding went unanswered. So African Americans were not allowed to attend Texas A&M or UT, and the one school they could attend, Prairie View, did not share in the income from the Permanent University Fund.
Ms. Wilhelmina Delco put these petitions on the floor of the House of Representatives, and they were able to pass a measure to have a ballot initiative to recognize Prairie View as one of those three institutions in the Constitution of the first class. And that then too would allow us to share in the Permanent University Fund money.
When the Permanent University Fund was established, the assumption was that Prairie View got an appropriation from that fund initially, and it did initially. But then when the voters chose to put a medical school at Galveston, the legislature did not appropriate enough money to fund the development of that medical school, and the legislature just ignored the fact that the comptroller took the available money that should have been divided between UT and A&M and Prairie View, and took the Prairie View portion of that money and sent it to the medical school fund in Galveston.
In the early 1980s, a bill was introduced in the state legislature that would eliminate Prairie View and Texas Southern. The property would be sold and the students transferred to other state colleges. This threat mobilized the Black Caucus to work even harder for equal funding for the black colleges. In 1984, with pressure from the Black Caucus, an amendment was added to the Texas Constitution that enabled Prairie View A&M to join the University of Texas at Austin and Texas A&M University as the state's only constitutionally designated institutions of the first class. This entitled Prairie View to share in the PUF. For the first time in the 106-year history of the university, the state of Texas agreed that Prairie View was on the same level as Texas A&M and the University of Texas.